Wildthorn by Jane Eagland. This is a book that I have had on my TBR for about 13 years. I finally got around to it. To be fair, I didn't own this book until a couple of months ago, so I mean, I could have bought it, but I wasn't. No. This book came out in 2009, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, it came out in 2009. This is a historical novel mystery. We have our main character, Louisa Cosgrove, who is a wealthy English 17-year-old girl, or 16, teenage girl. She believes she is going on a trip to visit some family friends and stay with them for a while, because that's what rich people do. They just have companions who are people other people knows, and then they hang out with each other. But instead of going to the family friend's house, she ends up in a mental asylum. And she doesn't know why she's in this asylum, because she is not crazy. And they're also not calling her her name. She is Louisa Cosgrove, but the attendants keep calling her Lucy Childs. And so she believes this is a case of mistaken identity, and that her family will eventually come rescue her. But when they don't, she starts to wonder if she is here on purpose, and if someone has lied about her name and lied about her being crazy to lock her away. And she has many suspects for this. Several people in her life who have some motive, or could potentially have some motive, or could be involved, but she doesn't know why or how. And she has to figure out if this is a mistake, or who sent her here and why. She also has to figure out a way to escape, and clear her name, and get out with her sanity still intact, because the longer she spends in this place, the more she kind of starts to lose her mind a little bit. I don't know what year exactly this takes place in, because it's England, and I don't know history. And I definitely don't know English history, so it's like, I'm thinking vaguely 1800s, somewhere in there. Women were sent to asylums for all sorts of reasons, one being actually, having actual medical problems that need attention, even though they aren't well addressed in these places, and especially this place, Wildthorn Hall. Not a great place. But they can also send there for any number of insane behaviors displayed by women, including reading books. Our main character is an avid reader. She's very smart. She wants to become a doctor, like her father. Her father is a doctor. Her brother is training to be a doctor, and she's actually way better at it than her brother, so, she should be a doctor. However, her father supported her in that endeavor, but he is dead. Her mother doesn't. Her brother doesn't. All of her acquaintances, basically, and her extended family think her a little crazy for believing that a woman can be a doctor, even though we are in the era of, Florence Nightingale and some women starting to become doctors, and there's a school in London for female doctors, so that probably dates this. Don't ask me when Florence Nightingale was a doctor, but you might know. So it's possible that someone has locked her away for pursuing non-feminine endeavors or being too studious. And also, guess what? She's gay. Who could have known that on Mostly Sapphic Books, the YouTube channel, we would be talking about a book with a gay main character. She is gay, but not many people know that. So has her secret come out? Who could have spilled her secret? There's only one person who would have known, which was her her hot cousin who she had a crush on. And I'm not gonna lie, that sounds wild, pun intended, but that was actually one of the more interesting parts of this book. I think for the most part this is kind of like a standard asylum mystery where a woman doesn't know why she's ended up in an asylum. It's not boring, but it is a staple YA. You've kind of seen this story before, if not exactly like this, but it's sort of a trope. We know that women were incarcerated, not exactly the right word, interred in these places for all kinds of not great reasons at the time. So a girl being put in an asylum for being gay is not a news story, but a girl being put in an asylum for maybe kissing her cousin, who is a girl, that's kind of interesting. To me, at least. To the people in this book, not that interesting. The big scandal of that is that her cousin is a girl and not a man. Because her brother actually tries to set her up with their other cousin, who is a man, and get married. So I guess that's just something they did. I don't know how close of cousins they are. I don't know if we're talking first cousins here. might have been, you know, distant relatives. And I guess people were just fine with that anyway at the time, to some extent at least. So that wasn't that weird to these people, but it's weird to us, you know, so that makes the book more interesting to us. Although I will say, if you're skeeved out by that, her cousin is not her final love interest. That's just the girl she had a crush on when she was growing up, because she didn't really know anyone else. So if the only hot girl you know is your cousin, I guess that's what you gotta go for. But she meets another woman in this institution who ends up becoming another love interest. And I think that's all I'll tell you about the plot. I won't spoil anything, because the mystery is fun. There's a lot of suspects. It goes a lot of places. It takes a lot of turns. There's a lot of, like, trial and error, and, you know, schemes that don't succeed to escape or to help some of the other girls there. Some of them seem genuinely, you know, ill. Some of them don't seem ill and are here for reasons that aren't their fault, that are very sympathetic. And our main girl, Louisa, feels sorry for them and, like, wants to help some of them as well. So there's a good amount of action in this, which you don't necessarily get in a historical novel, but I think the setting lends really well to it. So you have, like, a good cast of characters, both in other girls at this asylum and the women who work there, and, like, the doctors who work there. And, you know, Louisa's skills and training as a doctor come in handy. She hasn't been officially trained, but her father was a doctor and let her read, like, all of his textbooks and go on house calls with him. And so she's learned a lot, and that comes in handy. You know, she's smart, she has skills. She knows things that the doctor in the asylum doesn't know. She knows how to help some of the girls there who are ill or suffering, like, little ailments. You know, things like that. She can kind of help. So she's a smart character. There's a lot of action. It's pretty fun, honestly. But again, this wasn't, like, my favorite book of all time. It's like a 3-star for me, I think, because it was pretty much what I expected. Not a big disappointment, but also not a big, you know, like, wasn't my favorite read of the year. I read a lot of books. This is gonna be, like, meh. Not necessarily forgettable, but just not, you know, not the best book I read this year. Also not that gay, maybe because it was written in 2009, but also because just the nature of the plot, she's trying to, like, escape from an asylum. And the gayness isn't that present, because she's fighting for her life and her freedom, and only occasionally thinking about her hot cousin. Then the current present-day romance happens a bit later in the novel, as things wrap up, you know. And she tries to get her happily ever after. I won't spoil the ending, but, like, I mean, you know it's gonna have a good ending. It's a YA novel. You like this main character. She doesn't deserve any of this. She's gonna have a happy ending. And also because only, like, one person knows she's gay, that's not the biggest suspect reason for her incarceration. And so she thinks it's more to do with, like, money and her estate, or just the fact that she hasn't expressed interest in marrying a man, or, you know, being a wife and mother instead of a doctor. So there's, like, other reasons that she's concerned about. There's other things that she's concerned about that aren't her sexuality. So it's not, like, the gayest book you've ever read. But it is still cool, like, historical gay romance. Like, she's definitely queer. Like, there's a couple of queer characters in this. But it is from 2009, so it's not, like, the gayest book of all time. I think YA books today are a lot gayer than this. But it's also something with a time period. You know what to expect. There's not going to be a lot of gayness in a sort of realistic portrayal of whatever time period this is. And I was mainly interested in the gayness. And the incest. There's a garbage truck. Let's wait for the garbage truck to go away. I was mainly interested in the queer aspect of this, which is why I read it. So, like, maybe that took my enjoyment down. Again, I enjoyed it. It just wasn't, like, my favorite thing ever to read. But it was a solid 3-star. It was a good mystery. I liked the action. I liked wondering, like, what put her in here. Although she does spend a lot of time thinking that it's a mistaken identity case. But you, as the reader, are like, girl, they put you in here because you read too many books. So at the start, maybe you're like, come on, girl, like, be smarter than this. But, I mean, she catches up. It's fine. And she's very surprised by this. We're not surprised by it from our perspective, but she had no idea that this was going to happen to her. And the reveal of, like, what it is was something I didn't expect. So that's interesting. And it did keep me on my toes, it did keep me guessing, so it's a good mystery. I do recommend it if you're really into historical YA about gay people and maybe asylums, because there's a lot of asylum talk. And of course, like the institution she's in, there's like different wards for different levels of illness, which is kind of used as punishment. So there's some dark stuff in this and like some harrowing, not great things, if you're really sensitive to that. But I liked it. I think it's an intriguing book. Not bad. I probably would have really liked this in 2009 when it came out, when I hadn't read a lot of other gay books, and so this would have been like one of the few gay YA books that I had access to, except I didn't have access to it. But if I had had access to it, I would have really liked this at the time, more than I do now, I think, just because I've read other books that are more in my genres that I'm interested in, but nonetheless, still pretty good, still enjoyable read.